Welcome to the deep dive. Today we are looking at, well, a really fascinating account of travel disappointment. It's a story that lives right at the intersection of aspirational marketing and a pretty crushing reality.
It really is. Our source material for this is an account from a traveler whose, let's say, dream vacation completely fell apart the second they arrived.
And that's our mission for this deep dive. We're going to analyze that failure. This isn't just about a bad trip. We're using it as a case study to see exactly where that promise, that brand promise, just breaks down.
And the promise was huge here.
Oh, absolutely. The traveler was all in. They'd packed the flip-flops, the good sunscreen, a proper beach chair. They were dreaming of palm trees, the salty
It
air.
was a whole fantasy built on a single premise.
A very high-stakes fantasy. And that's where we start because the source material, it's brutal. It calls the destination a lie, a joke.
Right away. There's no slow burn. It's immediate. And the question for us is, how did it fail so catastrophically, so fast, that the traveler just decided it wasn't even the right kind of place, not even a beach?
It's that speed that's so interesting. It wasn't a gradual letdown. It was just an instant sensory shock. So we have to start with the environment, the ground itself.
Exactly. Because that's where the fantasy first hits the wall of reality. They're expecting, pristine sand.
Golden sand, maybe white sand, clear water.
But what they got was the polar opposite. The source is very clear. The shoreline was muddy.
Mud, not sand.
Mud. And mud belongs in a swamp, not a travel brochure. Its presence means a complete failure of the environment to meet even the most basic standard. It's not just dirty, it's structurally wrong.
And if the visual of mud wasn't enough, there's a sign.
Oh, the sign.
You're all geared up to go swimming, and the first thing you read is a sign that explicitly says, "No swimming, please."
And that detail, that is a fundamental breach of what a beach is. Its core purpose is access to the water.
Yeah.
So when rules, probably for safety or pollution, take that away, it stops being a beach.
Right. It becomes
Wait,
a viewpoint, a patch of mud you can look at.
Exactly. It's not a place for recreation anymore. And the sensory failure just keeps going, doesn't it? The traveler was hoping for that ocean breeze.
That classic, restorative smell of salt and sun.
And instead, the air itself was just infested. The source says they were dealing with mosquitoes in the sky. Mosquitoes mean still water. Swampy water. It completely kills the fantasy of clean, open coastal air. It just screams neglect.
And the soundscape, too. The traveler wanted waves that crash and reach, that powerful sound of the ocean,
The waves were completely gone. All they got was seaweed.
just sitting there.
Yes, stagnant seaweed.
Mm-hmm.
Crashing waves, that implies energy, cleanliness. Stagnant seaweed implies decay.
Hmm.
And you mentioned the context of the location earlier. The source puts this whole scene within arm's reach of a swampy parking lot.
Which is so important. A real escape has to feel separate from daily life, from infrastructure.
It has to. When your so-called paradise is right next to a swampy parking lot, it's a constant reminder that you haven't gone anywhere at all. It tells you this place is an afterthought, a bit of fringe land where branding met neglect.
So, okay, the environment was a total bust.
Yeah.
Physically, contextually, just doomed from the start.
Completely.
But maybe, just maybe, you can be saved by the manufactured fun, right? The hospitality. So let's pivot from the land to the infrastructure, the amenities.
Yes, because sometimes a great experience can make up for a less than perfect setting. But here, the amenities just made the fraud feel even worse. Let's talk about the promised tiki bar.
Right, you're imagining bamboo, thatched roof, some carefully crafted exotic vibe.
And what was it really?
It was described as a trailer with a cooler full of beer.
A trailer with a cooler. That's not ambiance. That's what you get at a construction site on a Friday. There's
Yeah.
zero effort there.
It's a complete failure of what you called false authenticity. They're not even trying to create the illusion.
Not at all. And the drink order is the perfect little story of the whole trip. The traveler asked for the ultimate tropical drink, a rum punch.
The dream. And they received the exact opposite of that dream.
They get a can of warm, generic cola.
Warm.
Warm. And to make it worse, it's served from a rusty ice cream fan. Let's just sit with those words for a second. Warm, generic, rusty. This isn't a bad drink. It's a message.
The messages.
The message is, we invested nothing. We care nothing for your experience. And we're using equipment that should have been thrown out years ago. The rum punch was the fantasy. The warm cola from a rusty van is the cheap, hard reality.
And the entertainment, it just follows that same downward spiral. The hope was for, a cool Caribbean soundscape. A steel drum player.
Something that creates a real atmosphere. Instead, they got a guy with spoons and cheer.
A guy with
You can just see the budget cuts becoming audible. A steel drum, that takes skill, it takes investment in the culture. A guy with spoons requires, well, spoons. It's such a cheap substitute, it feels like an insult to the customer.
It's just low fidelity, everything. And all the little visual cues you'd expect are missing. The source notes, no coconuts or hammocks.
In the absence of those simple things, it confirms this place was never designed to be a paradise. What was there instead?
Instead of relaxation and hammocks, there were some kids who smoke.
And that detail, that juxtaposition, it captures the entire disconnect perfectly. The vibe wasn't exotic getaway, it was low-rent public park.
So you have this overwhelming pileup of cheapness, the muddy water, the warm cola, the guy with spoons. It must have felt just suffocating.
It did. And it leads to this moment of self-doubt from the traveler. They actually pause and think, maybe I'm picky, maybe I'm spoiled.
Which is such a human reaction, isn't it? To blame yourself first.
It's the consumer's last line of defense. When a promise fails that spectacularly, you question your own standards before you fully accuse the seller of fraud. You look for the flaw in yourself.
But the source doesn't stay there. It moves past the self-doubt and starts building a case for why the disappointment was justified. It starts defining the actual criteria for a real beach.
Absolutely. The traveler moves from just complaining to actual objective analysis. And the source lays out these non-negotiables. It's not just about what it looks like, it's about what it is. We can break it down into 3 levels: material, geographical, and spiritual.
Okay, so let's start with the material, the physical stuff. What about the sand?
The sand has to be golden, not covered in oil. That sets a baseline for cleanliness, for environmental health. Golden sand is beautiful and usable. Oil is industrial pollution. If you can't even trust the ground you're standing on, the experience is dead.
And then the geographical requirement, which I have found really interesting, the need to have the ocean behind.
This is all about scale and the feeling of escape. The ocean behind you implies vastness, endless possibility, a clean break from everything else.
But a beach next to a swampy parking lot.
It fails completely. The water isn't vast, it's contained, it's limited. The ocean behind is about the horizon, not a view of a parking meter.
Okay, so material and geographical. What about the third one, the spiritual or emotional criteria? This is where we get into what a vacation is supposed to feel like.
Right. And the goals are spelled out: margaritas, which stand for real indulgence, not warm cola. A palm tree preacher's speech, which is a beautiful metaphor for that feeling of peace and connection with nature.
And the ultimate goal.
A place where the good times overload. This is a demand for an experience so positive, so joyful, that it overwhelms you. The investment of time and money has to pay off with genuine, abundant happiness.
And since this place failed on all 3 levels, material, geographical, and spiritual, the traveler's decision is pretty quick.
Oh, it's immediate. No more debate. The decision is, I'm hitting the road. And this is a key moment for any consumer, right? Do you accept the sunk cost and just endure it, or do you cut your losses?
And they decide their time and sanity are more valuable?
Way more valuable. They refuse to participate in the lie anymore. They say they're going to head south till I find the real thing. It's a refusal to settle.
This whole story, with all these little details, the rusty van, the muddy shore, it ends up being this incredibly powerful cautionary tale. What's the core takeaway here about marketing versus reality?
I think the takeaway is that a brand is only as strong as its fidelity to its promise, and that fidelity is most often broken in the small, cheap, low-level details. The whole failure is summed up perfectly by the traveler's last thought.
What's that?
They realized the entire experience was just a puddle with good marketing.
Oof, a puddle with good marketing. That is brutal. But it's so precise. It captures how imagery can create a perception that's just light years away from the actual product.
It's an illusion, and a costly one. But that disappointment was earned. The brand earned it with every single cheap decision they made.
And that raises a really interesting question, doesn't it? When a customer's trust is shattered like this, by a rusty van or warm cola, is their choice to just leave? Is that a rational economic decision, or is it something more? Is it an emotional response to feeling betrayed?
I think it's the latter.
Yeah.
Those specific low-fidelity failures, they aren't just mistakes. They feel like contempt for the customer.
So for you, listening to this, we want to leave you with a final thought. Based on this, this absolute masterclass in failure, where do you draw the line? If you're the one packing your flip-flops in your chair, what's that one non-negotiable detail for you?
Yeah, what's the one thing that, if it was Missing or swapped out for a cheap version like the guy with spoons would make you say, nope, this whole thing is a fraud, and just leave. What failure of fidelity can you not forgive?